Not only does it get sent, it has the delivered icon, just like on iMessage. It will kind of go back to black and white eventually. So like I'm going to go to my home page and then go back to Spotify. I think it's going to be black and white now. Yeah. In this video, I'm going to show you how I was able to install iMessage, Spotify, Apple Music, and more on the LightPhone 3. It's a little bit of a hacky thing to do, a little complicated, but I've been using this now for the last 2 months and really love it as a secondary device to my iPhone. I use my iPhone at work, and then I put it in a drawer when I get home and use this instead. But because I've got iMessage now on here attached to my iPhone phone number, whenever somebody texts me, I can still read it. I'm also able to take and receive phone calls using this thing, but I'm now completely disconnected from the smartphone social media lifestyle that sucks us all in. But first, let me show you what I've been able to do. So this is the LightPhone 3, and I have it in this nice little yellow case that LightPhone makes. I really like that a lot. And when I go to my homepage, it looks like a normal LightPhone. I've got phone, directions, calendar, but where the magic happens is when I push and hold this bottom volume button, it triggers iMessage. That's right. I might have to blur some of this because these are my actual iMessages. Now, to prove to you that iMessage is working properly on the LightPhone, I'm going to pull up a conversation I'm having with Cam Mackey. Now, Cam actually is an amazing photographer and filmmaker who bought this LightPhone. So I'm going to be sending it to him after I finish setting it up for him. But let's check this out. I'm going to open up my conversation with Cam Mackey. And you can see it's all black and white, which is kind of funny. That's how LightPhone is set up. Because the phone is so short and fat, we do see that, a lot of the message here is actually not legible. But once I start scrolling down, you can read everything again. I can even use the standard iMessage thumbs up and different things like that. But I'm actually going to type something for him. You also notice here that this is the Google Gboard. The built-in keyboard on the LightPhone is not very good. It also doesn't have swipe to text. So I now have the Gboard built into here as well. I'm going to hit the send button right there. This is showing up on his phone as this phone number, the iPhone phone number. I have an eSIM with, this is an iPhone 15 Pro. This phone number, which I've had for years, is showing up on his side, on his phone, even though I sent the text message, or the iMessage rather, on the LightPhone. Now the LightPhone has a totally different phone number. This is a secondary phone number, and you can get really cheap additional plans on whatever carrier you're using. It works with AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, which is what I'm using here. So when I double tap this button here, and I have this set up for my friend Cam Mackey. He wanted to have the Lumix app, the Fuji app, which is the one at the top, and a Leica app, which I haven't been able to download yet. But having a QR scanner is super useful. If you're at a restaurant, you need to scan something, you can do that here and it works fine. And we've got Spotify. So I'll show you what Spotify looks like. And you can see it's just a standard, Spotify setup. When I'm in the standard LightPhone setup and I push the camera icon, it turns to color. Okay, so the screen is actually a color screen. They're just forcing it to be black and white. When I double click again and I go back into Spotify, now we're in a color Spotify. So yeah, so now we're basically just using this like essentially a Android phone. But once I lock the screen and kind of get back into it, it will kind of go back to black and white eventually. So like I'm going to go to my home page and then go back to Spotify. I think it's going to be black and white now. Yeah. So honestly, I don't really think about it. If you really want color, you can get there by doing this weird workaround where you trigger the camera and then you go into whatever app you're doing and it's going to be color. Because ultimately this is a color screen. It's not only black and white screen, which is kind of interesting. So this is Audible. We've got Waze on here as well. So how do you do this? How do you do this on a stock LightPhone from the beginning? You just got your LightPhone 3. You want to install some additional apps. Basically, the way that I'm doing it is I'm able to hack into the Android layer, download an app store called the Aurora store, which includes a lot of apps. Now, this is a non-Google Play device. So that's why you have to use the Aurora store. You can't use Google Play, and there's a lot of apps that don't install properly. So for example, if I were to try to install Google Calendar, for example, it's there. I hit install, and you'll notice once the app is downloaded, it'll have an error because you do have to have a registered Google Play account or Google Play device attached to it. So yeah, do I want to install it? Yes. Okay. So it goes through the whole process like normal. I hit open. And it says calendar won't run without Google Play services, which are not supported by your device. So you're going to find that some apps work and some apps don't. The ones that I've listed so far all work. And I'm going to show you how to do that. By hacking this, you do essentially get to a point where you're going against the philosophy of LightPhone. So you have to be disciplined and only install the apps that you feel are necessary. Because I found myself using it just like I did with my normal smartphone, having Spotify and even like there's some YouTube type apps that you can get on here. And then it just becomes a smaller smartphone, which in some regards makes you use it less because it's less enjoyable. But I find the screen is great, the speaker is great. It definitely goes against the philosophy of the LightPhone. But there are some apps that are crucial to me. Apps like Apple Music, apps like ChatGPT. It's part of my daily life now, using AI to answer questions to help me solve problems. And of course, iMessage. It's my main messaging tool, especially here in America. So let me walk you through exactly how to do it on a stock phone. I'm going to wipe this phone and start over from scratch and do the whole thing. Okay, so let's start over from scratch. Let's wipe this thing. Factory reset. Boom. Okay, so we are now in a fully factory reset LightPhone. You can see greetings, welcome to your LightPhone, et cetera, et cetera. I'm actually going to just leave all this as is because I want my friend Keymap, who purchased this, to be able to sign in and do all that process. I'll let him figure out what he's going to do there, but I'm just going to do the hack for now because I think it'll work fine. Now, all of this information that I learned on how to do this came from the modified LightPhones Reddit page. So what you need is a hardware keyboard, like just a cheap old USB keyboard. And obviously you need to maybe adapt it to USB-C if it's an older keyboard. Now, when you plug in a keyboard, you hit the Apple key in my case and new, and it opens up basically the Android layer. So by simply pushing the Windows key plus N, or in my case, the Apple key plus N, it opened this whole thing up. And basically what we want to do is go to the settings here. Once you're in settings, you want to scroll down to apps, LightOS, scroll down, go to home app, and change that to quick step. And now we're in the Android layer. So if I turn the phone off and then on again, I'm only going into the standard Android skin, if you will. This is just the default Android skin. It's really basic. So once we're in this home screen layout, we're going to go back to settings by scrolling up, go back to apps, select the LightPhone app, scroll down again, change the phone app to the standard phone for now. We'll change this back later. The SMS to standard for now. Again, that's just so that we have things working properly. Now we're going to go back and go into developer mode. So we're just going to type build on the keyboard because it's using the keyboard as the keyboard for now. If I unplug it, it'll just be the touch keyboard, of course. And when you find that, you want to push it 7 times. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You are now a developer. It has like a little countdown until that time comes. And we're going to go back to the main settings. We're going to type OEM unlocking. Select that. And we want to make sure that that's turned on. It's already on. We just want to make sure it's on. Now we need to connect to the Wi-Fi, of course, because we're not on it yet. So we're now in the Android layer. We've gone into developer mode. We've turned on the OEM unlocking. We're on Wi-Fi. But now we're going to actually go into Chromium, which is the built-in browser on default Android here. I'm just going to lay it down. Hopefully that's clear enough for you guys. But I'm going to enter into Chromium. I'll say continue. No thanks. Okay, so now we're in a browser, which I know is dangerous territory on a dumb phone. It's not a smartphone, but we are gonna have to install a couple apps. So I'm gonna search for the Aurora store, which is an open source app store that doesn't require Google Play services. Now, that's one of the caveats with this workflow is you're not attached to Google Play Store. So there's certain apps that you can and can't use, but thankfully the ones that we need most, like WhatsApp, Open Bubbles, which is what I'm using for iMessage, and several others are available on here. I'm going to go to the Aurora store here. Go to the downloads tab on the website. You know what? I like being in dark mode on this thing, so I'm going to switch to the dark theme. It just looks so much better on the light phone to be in dark mode. Once you've navigated to the downloads section of the Aurora store website, you're greeted with this. And if you're not familiar with developer type things and whatnot, you might be a little confused by it all. So I'll walk you through it. Basically, it's the way that these things are built together is there's folders with packages and many things inside of those folders. We just need to navigate to the latest version of Aurora Store. Then Aurora Store will do kind of all the magic for us later. So there's 3 folders here. You want to select Aurora Store. Then I'm going to select latest. And there it is, latest.apk. As you do more of this playing around with installing and sideloading apps onto an Android phone, you'll notice .apk is the file for an app. So we can use Aurora Store, but we can also do things like sideload apps from your Mac or your PC, and that's pretty easy as well. But we're just doing it all here. No real computer necessary. I'm going to download the latest. It's downloading. All right, so we're going to open that up. I'm going to allow downloads from Chromium, install. Boom, now I'm installing the Aurora store. I'm going to hit open. Go say yes to everything. Okay, and you're greeted with a Google login, which you can do, but that doesn't mean that it's a Play service. You can't use Play service required apps. I'm just going to use Anonymous because I, am security focused and conscious. So I'm going to hit anonymous, and it's going to create basically an account with this anonymous login. Once this all loads, you're going to see a lot of apps that look familiar to you. In fact, you can see Instagram there, TikTok, Snapchat, WhatsApp. Just kind of have fun at this point, but be thoughtful and mindful of the whole purpose of this phone. Only download the apps that are crucial to you. For me, it's Open Bubbles because I'm an iMessage user, and my music player of choice, which for me is Apple Music. And thankfully, Apple Music does work well with this. For you, it might be Spotify. That is available here, and it works great. Also, Waze is a much better direction tool on the light phone, in my opinion, than the built-in direction tool. You could stay away from that and try to force yourself to only use LightOS enabled apps when possible. Calendars do not work on here. You are required to have a Google Play service account in order to download any type of calendar app. Believe me, I've tried. I've downloaded multiple different calendar apps in this Aurora store. None of them work. So you're kind of stuck with the built-in calendar tool inside of LightOS, but it works great. You can sync one calendar to it. Thankfully, I only use one work calendar, one Gmail calendar, so that works well with the built-in LightOS app. But there's 2 apps that you must download once you're at this point in order to use anything else. The first one is called Keymapper. So we're going to search that. So by searching Keymap, you can see this top result here. This is one of the most crucial apps for this whole process. This allows me to use the side buttons to trigger those important apps. This is really great because it allows you to still use the LightOS as your main launcher, as your main tool. But whenever you need to go into Apple iMessage or those other apps that are crucial to you, maybe only 2 or 3 of them, you can have them mapped to the volume buttons when you press and hold or even double click. So you can have 5 or 6 apps that are triggered by a double click or a long press. You can kind of have at it, but I like to keep it as simple as possible and just have a long press on the volume down for my iMessage. So I'm going to install Keymapper. Again, you could do this with WhatsApp or whatever. Okay, so I've now downloaded Keymapper. You have to kind of go through here and enable all these things. It says fix, you just hit enable. I'm going to allow Keymapper to install these things. Oh, and that's reminding me too, there is another thing that you need to do. We need to go to the settings, go to our display settings, and make everything a little bit smaller. Because this phone is short and fat, a lot of things get cut off on the screen and it doesn't work properly. So I'm going to go to display size and text, scroll down, make everything as small as it can be. Display size and font size. Now everything's going to start to fit a little bit better on this screen. Also, I noticed when I did that, actually, I enabled this button here. I don't like that. I'm going to get rid of that. But yeah, I'm fixing all these things. I don't want this shortcut. That's it. The Keymapper shortcut. I need to turn that off. Cool. Okay, we're good. So we're going to go back to the home page. So that's the first tool that is crucial for you to download from Aurora store if you need any of this, okay? So next, I'm going to download my additional launcher that looks basically like LightPhone. This is the before launcher. You want to install this because essentially when you go into the Android layer, which you're going to have to do in order to access these additional apps, you want to continue that same LightPhone workflow. So in order to do that, I need a launcher. I'm not going to just use the default Android launcher. This one looks just like LightPhone. So I'm going to hit install, open, get started. It looks like this. It loads. Now, this doesn't look very clean, but we can customize it. This is what the before launcher looks like. I don't want to set this as my default yet. You'll see what I'm going to do here in a minute. I'm going to go to settings, go to home screen. I want to center the text, customize home screen apps. I'm going to just disable all these other apps. And I'll just have the Aurora store for now and Keymapper. But all these other ones are not important to me right now. So that's what that looks like. I'm going to go to settings again. Widgets. I'm going to turn the time widget off, date widget off, battery widget off, all those things. Just clutters it up too much. See, so now we just have these two apps. So I'm going to say, don't ask again. I don't care about that. So you'll notice the font also doesn't look right. I'm going to change the font to the system font, which is the LightOS font, basically. There you go. See? So now it's starting to look kind of like a normal light phone here. And we're going to download some other apps in a minute. Go away. I don't want to. All right, fine. You could be my default launcher for now. Cool. So by setting it default, it got rid of that notification. I'm going to go to the Aurora store again. And now this is where I'm going to download my Open Bubbles app, which is such a simple, amazing app. This is not really the place to discuss Open Bubbles, but if you don't know about it, it's the best way to get iMessage on Android if you already have an iPhone and an iMessage account. If you're using it the way I'm using it, it's literally the perfect tool. It costs no money, and by logging into my Apple ID, I'm able to basically have what I have on my Mac here. It's the same kind of hook into iMessage that's on Mac on an Android. It's amazing, but it sends the text through phone. Like you saw at the beginning of this video, it was working perfectly, but because I'm designing this for my friend, I'm not going to log in again, but it works the same. You download the app on the Mac first. You do have to have a Mac for this solution, and then it works fine. But there is an Open Bubbles hosted version that doesn't require you to have an iPhone, or I don't even think a computer like a Mac either, but it's $10 a month. I think what they do is they basically attach your phone number to an Apple ID account on a server somewhere, and then they use it, but it's a $10 hosting fee. But do that as you will if you're on Android and you want iMessage. But for me, it's perfect to have this two-phone system. So while that's finishing downloading, I'm going to go ahead and download Spotify as well. Oh, okay, Open Bubbles is wanting to install. I'm going to hit install. Okay, there's Spotify. One of the things I showed you early on is the Google keyboard. The built-in Android keyboard is much better than the one that LightOS has, but I'm going to go ahead and get that. And thankfully, even though it's a Google service, it doesn't require Google Play. So there it is, the Gboard. I'm going to install that. It's just a much better keyboard tool. It's got swipe to text and all those things. Now, I was talking about how I've got ChatGPT working on here, but unfortunately, the built-in ChatGPT app does not work in Aurora Store. It requires a Google Play service or subscription. A lot of these other ones don't work properly either. So in order to get ChatGPT on here, I had to install F-Droid, which is similar process to Aurora Store. You just search F-Droid, you find the APK, you download that. Then on F-Droid, there is a ChatGPT app. And if at any moment you want to see what's been downloaded, what's going on, you just hit the downloads tab and you can see where everything has come through. As things get downloaded, it then asks you, do you want to install this? Do you want to install this? So, this is taking me a while. But once you get some of these things loaded up, it's pretty simple to keep up with it. So I'm going to go to my settings, home screen, choose home screen apps. And now I'm going to enable some of these apps that I know he's going to want. Leica, it's a big Leica shooter. Lumix, Open Bubbles, which is the iMessage client. Spotify, and the Fuji app. I kind of just have everything here so that he knows, but it doesn't look great, but it is very LightOS in the fact that it's just text on a black background. And if you want more, you can swipe over. So in theory, you could disable home screen apps like we're going to have Open Bubbles in a special format. We're going to have Spotify in a special way using the Keymapper in a minute. And I don't need to access the Aurora Store anymore really that often. So let's just do that instead. Now we've just got those 4 apps. It looks a lot better. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the Keymapper tool. We're going to create our first key map. So like I said, I want to push volume down and be able to go straight to iMessage when I'm in LightOS. So I'm going to do that by hitting new keystroke, record trigger. And I'm just going to push the volume down button. And what that did is it recorded that. I'm going to change this to when I long press it, I want an action to take place and I want it to launch an app. It gives me a warning. I say ignore. Go to Open Bubbles and hit done. So now when I go to the home screen, I'm here. But when I push and hold here, it opens Open Bubbles. I'm not going to log in again because this is not my phone. It is Cam's phone. I'll let him do that. So now I'm going to do the same for Spotify on the top volume rocker. Go back to Keymapper, plus button, record trigger. Boom. Long press, action, add action, launch app, ignore. For me, it's Spotify here. But it could be anything you want. It could be WhatsApp, it could be Beeper, it could be Apple Music. Any app that you find in the Aurora Store, you can do that. So now I'm at the home page, and there I am. I push down, there's Open Bubbles. I push up. We haven't opened it yet. There's Spotify. And then these are his camera apps, the Leica app. I'm not going to do anything. I'll let him do it. The Lumix app, Fujifilm app, and I guess I don't need Keymapper actually there anymore, so I'll take that off. Okay, and you could do the same for this little button here on the side. By default, LightOS makes this a flashlight when you single press it, but when I access the Android layer, it disables that feature. So I'm going to basically put it back the way it is by default when you get a Light Phone 3. Record trigger, I'm just going to push the side button, short press, action, and what's so cool about this is it can be more than just the launching an app, it can be flashlight. So I'm going to search for it. Flash, toggle flashlight, see? It's just like that, done. This action requires permission, so I need to fix it. So I'm gonna hit fix. I say, while using this app, boom. Now let's see if it works. There you go. Perfect. And you could long press here and have it trigger something else if you'd like. I'm just gonna leave it right now with just Spotify and iMessage because he really wants this to be as simple as possible. The next crucial element of this setup is being able to access the Android layer when we're in LightOS, because we do want LightOS to be the main launcher, the main place that we use this phone, because that's the whole point. We love LightOS. We love what it has. I'm only downloading the essential things that I need that Light isn't offering. I don't want this to turn into a smartphone, but I do need to be able to access some of these features in case things go awry or I need to fix something or open an additional app that I don't have on the keystroke here. So what I'm going to do is create another trigger. I'm going to hit record trigger. Again, I'm pushing the side button this time, and this time I'm going to do a double press. I'm going to have an action, add action, launch app, ignore, and then I'm going to have it launch before launcher, which is this minimal launcher. So now I'm going to go back into settings, system settings. We're going to go to apps. I'm going to scroll down to LightOS right here. And now I'm going to make this the default again. So the default home app is now LightOS. Now I'm going to change the default phone app as well to LightOS. I'm going to change the SMS back to LightOS. Boom. So now what you're looking at is a Light phone. This is your standard Light phone that we haven't set up yet because, again, I want my friend to set it up. But check this out. When I push the side button down, boom, we're in open bubbles. I push the home button, we're back into standard Light phone. I push the top button and hold it. Boom, we're in Spotify. Push the home button, back to normal LightOS. Double click here. Now we're into our before launcher with, the 3 camera apps that he wants right there. But all the other apps are here, including Aurora store. I lock the screen. It's locked. I unlock it and we're there, but I hit the home page and we're here. Lock the screen. It's in my pocket. Normal. I unlock, boom, standard Light phone. Again, it's not set up. I showed you what it looked like already. But this allows us to go back and forth at will. And because I can't install Open Bubbles and Spotify in the list view of what they call tools for LightOS, I'm able to access it with those hotkey buttons. And if I ever get in trouble, if you will, and I get locked out or something, I can't get back into the Android layer, by double tapping that side button now, I can always go back to the standard kind of Android layer here with this before launcher. I also have the Modita Compact, which is my preferred dumb phone after using both off and on for several months now. I'll make a video about that as well, so make sure to subscribe. And if you haven't seen my official Light phone review and photo quality review, check that out right here and here. Thanks for watching, and hopefully You've been dumbified, but you've made it just slightly smarter. Bye.